Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. It's day 13 of 30 days 30 pours, so we're almost halfway through now. Thank you so much to everybody who's participated so far. If you'd like to join in, just pick up that day's challenge. There's a list in the description box below this video and on all of the videos. If you'd like to participate in 30 days 30 pours, it's not too late. All you need to do is use the hashtag 30 days 30 pours when you upload your work to social media. We're using this across all platforms and it just helps us find each other. It's been so great to see all your work on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube, so thank you so much. Today's shout out for Paint It Forward 2019 goes to Carol's Art Room. She's been on YouTube for about a year and she's made over 200 videos. Watching her work is really inspiring, so I really recommend that you check out her channel. I'll put a link in the description box below. Today's challenge is air swipe. So I've been thinking about what can I do with using air to move paint around, and obviously you can blow the paint around using a tube like this, but I've also been trying to make some foam because I like the idea of the bubbles making the work. So I'll show you what I've been up to. I'm going to try and pour with pigmented foam today, I think. Again, I don't have any canvases. I've got these teeny tiny canvas boards I bought just to swatch things on, so I might use one or two of those, and I've got Yupo paper, so maybe I'll use that. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy what I'm doing, and if you want to get notifications when I upload new videos, then hit that bell. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, I'm Tokyo Makes, and let's get on and make some art. There we go. I've got some Yupo paper here. And this is, I showed you this in the intro, this is my foamy mixture. I've used this, which is impossible to read now, but this is Holborn acrylic ink, and I think it's ultramarine blue. I also added a tiny bit of flow enhancer. This does seem to cause bubbles in the water that I use it in when I use my distilled water, so I thought that that might be a nice way to make some bubbles. And the third ingredient is this PVA. Now this is also called PVLA, and it's not in English here, but it says polyvinyl alcohol. This is laundry starch, and this is from the Japanese dollar store equivalent. I read on a when I was trying to research what is this material and why is it labelled as PVA when it's not white glue, it's not polyvinyl acetate. Actually, some of the best information about it was on bubble making forums for people who like to make giant bubbles at festivals and parties. So I thought, hey, that would be a really nice thing to try and use. Apparently it makes some of the most amazing bubbles when mixed with dish soap. Now I don't think you can really buy this as a laundry starch in the US and other countries because it seems to be a synthetic product that mimics a certain kind of rice starch that was traditionally used for Japanese laundry. So it's not a product that needs to be mimicked in the West because people use starch derived from corn and other cereals, whereas this mimics, it doesn't have rice in it, but it mimics rice traditionally made from starch. This is completely synthetic. PVLA is a kind of water-soluble plastic, and it's used to make the coatings for things like Tide pods and laundry detergent pods that you put in the washing machine, and then the plastic coating on them kind of dissolves. I've used this for pouring before. It dries to a sheen. I think it might re-wet a certain amount, certainly more than acrylics, but it doesn't re-wet like gouache does or something like that. So I feel like it's okay to use for pouring. If you really want to seal your work, you should probably put a coat of varnish or some kind of spray coating on it before you use anything like a sponge or a brush on it. I just mixed a glug of this is the first test, a glug of this, 2 or 3 drops of the ink, about a teaspoon of the De La Rowney Flow Enhancer, and I've been whipping this up like a meringue. So let's see what happens to this line of it. And I'm going to see, oh look, it's made a smiley face. Hello. I blew into it with this, like kids do, like this. I'm going to try and modify this. I've got my dish soap here, again from the dollar store, so it's not high quality or anything. And I'm going to put just a little drizzle of that in. That's going to make lots of foam, I should imagine. I'm going to put this in a bigger cup so I can get a bit more air in it. I'm going to try and put a tiny bit of distilled water in it and see if that helps. Okay, this has been shaken like cocktail shaker style. This looks lighter, it's the same colour, it's a bit more diluted, it's just got a lot more air in it. But what I'm going to try next is, I have this soap dispenser that's got like a foaming top, and I spent ages cleaning it out a couple of days ago. So I'm going to fill that up with some kind of PVLA pigment mixture and see what happens. Because this mechanism is an absolute nightmare to clean, I'm going to try and add things quite slowly. So I've just put the PVLA in it at the moment. Luckily, an entire bottle of this is just the equivalent of $1, so it's really nice to pour with. Everything else costs so much money in Japan. Right, this is too thick, so I can't cope with it. I'm going to have to put some distilled water in there. This is not soap now, this is coming out with starch and water. Requires quite a lot of pressure, but this foaming cap is really great, and it's making this kind of sticky cappuccino style foam that I wanted to try and paint with. So I could use this potentially to try and dilute my paints. I do think everything will probably dry down to nothing and just be one colour, but I'd like to see what happens. Alright, something else I'd like to try is these Alkyd resin colours with this, because certainly normal resin is terrible for getting bubbles. So let's see if this will trap some bubbles if I whip it up enough. So I'm putting a little splodge in there, put another glug of starch in there, drizzle of dish soap. So let me show you how much I'm putting in. Not that much, less than 1:1. Probably a 3:2 ratio of PVLA and water, roughly, and just a dab of paint, as you can see. Let's mix that up, see if we can get some foam. As you can see, this resin, this water-based resin is amazing because it's so pigmented and it instantly spreads smoothly through everything. I absolutely love it. You can get this internationally. It's made by a Japanese company. I don't know why it hasn't taken off as an artist medium. I really like it, but maybe it's not as well known. I think if you have got arthritis and you have a lot of trouble stirring, you should ask for a set of these for your next birthday or Christmas and give them a go for your pouring, because it will save you a lot of time and energy. Obviously, acrylic inks are the alternative you can use to avoid stirring. The next thing I'm going to do is to see, I'm just going to put a little bit of white acrylic on here and see how that interacts over this foam, next to this foam, and under this foam. So I'm going to put some acrylic down here. That's still thick where I tried to thicken it up yesterday. Okay, there's something interesting happening here. It's interactive. Yeah, I guess I'm going to move it around now, see what happens. I think the way that it's interacting with the solid paint on top is quite interesting, and this is also kind of interesting. I don't think I gave it much of a chance there, so I'm going to just put a little bit down over some of the leftover blank white acrylic. acrylic there. And finally, let's try and blow it around a bit. This is really interesting to me. I think this is great. I'm really interested in what's happening here with like the interaction of a foam and non-foam layer. Right, I'm going to torch it now. So that might burst all the bubbles, we'll see. Okay, I'm going to move that off to one side now. I'll show you how it dries another day, and I'm going to try and do a small traditional air swipe on this. Okay, so I've got this teeny tiny canvas board now, and I am going to try and do a very small air swipe on here. Right, I'm going to try and use some of this mixing white today. This is Liquitex Prime, which I can never normally afford to buy, but I just splashed out for one bottle because mixing white is quite interesting to me. It's a semi-transparent, it says in Japanese, semi-transparent white, and I'm going to try and use it sparsely and see if I can get some shades of white. And I'm going to use some tiny cups and try and make some super subtle colours today. One thing that I like using, you can see this, is this opalescent iridescent nail powder from the this is from Can Do, which is a 100-yen store, so like a dollar store. I also have this really amazing kind of interference gold Japanese calligraphy ink. You can see some of it on my gloves. So everything's supposed to be super subtle, and it probably won't show up that well on camera, but I want to try it anyway. Okay, paints today. I have got Turner Acryl Gouache. This is in an acrylic base, and it doesn't really re-wet once it's dry, so it's fine to use for pouring. This is Pearl Green, which is a it's an interference paint, so it dries clear with a green sheen. It does not dry this colour. It's more like when it catches the light, it's this colour. My pouring medium today is 50% white glue and 50% distilled water with a dash of flow enhancer from De La Rowney, as always. The next paint I'm going to use, this is from the Japanesque range. I can't read the name. I can't read how to pronounce the name. It's this purple colour in the iridescence. Again, this dries down clear. So I'll just put a squirt of it in there. It's quite subtle. I'm going to put the pink powder in here. So there's a small amount of powder in there. Right, the last one is using some mica that I was brought from Malaysia. This is a redshift mica. It is not as strongly pigmented as the other materials that I'm using today, so I'm going to use more of it, and therefore I'm going to need to mix it a lot more thoroughly. The final ones that I'm making are, I'm going to mix up some of this interference gold and this Aurora blue nail powder. So the other one was pink, this one's got a much more purpley blue shift. They look very, very similar in the tub, but when dry, they are completely different colours. That's the blue nail powder. Right, this is the Aurora blue powder. I need to obviously use water in this ink here. I've mixed this Liquitex mixing white to a kind of pouring consistency. Right, I'm going to make one black, one white, and try and blow between them and make the colours fan out. And I'll see what happens. So I think this one's dirtier, so I'm going to put the black on this side. It's just Liquitex Basics, Mars Black and pouring medium.
What I'm worried about is contaminating all of those white colours with this black. It's given how clumsy I am, I think it's a legitimate concern. But I'm going to be no gloves with the white in an attempt to try and keep it clean. I'm going to try and get them almost touching but not touching, so that I don't get a load of grey. I'm not trying to blow them across from one hand to the other though. We'll see what happens. But that is my mixing white.
That is Liquitex Prime mixing white, because you can't get mixing white in every range, and Prime has more colours. Okay, so they're butting up against each other. There's definitely going to be grey spots, but maybe I'll try and
do some bits and pieces going across. I am going to touch first.
because all of these look white, I don't even really know, apart from the two creamy coloured ones, I don't even really know what I've got here. So they're in fairly similar shapes. I've got no idea what colours what. One thing you have to watch with tubes is, or straws, is that if you keep blowing through them for a long time, obviously there's going to be some saliva inside, like there would be with any kind of musical instrument or something. So take a break and dry it off when you're not making a fluid motion, because it's going to drip saliva or water on your work and it will leave a visible mark. I think I'm going to try and go 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why, but that's what I feel like doing. One more for luck in the middle. And one more here. There's a few bubbles in here from where I've blown, so I'm just going to torch. If you've been watching any of my videos, then you know that I'm absolutely in love with interference colours, so this will look rubbish until it dries. But let me show you some works that I've made with interference colours, and then I'll bring you back to this in probably a day or two after it's dried. Okay, so this is my first or second kaleidoscope pour. I think it's the first one, can't remember. And you can see the blue shift pigment in this, which absolutely is amazing. So head on, it looks quite flat, but as soon as the light catches it, it's got so much movement in it. So that's an example of an interference color. That is that is one that I did not use that colour today, but I did use the Turner paints. There's another example here, which I don't like the painting, but I do like the interference paints. This pigment here is not really an interference paint, but it's a chroma, I think it's called Chroma Shift by Holbein, and this is a powdered pigment. You can get it in an acrylic ink, and next time I will be getting it in the ink because I love the colour, but it is not easy to use for pouring as a pigment. Okay, just scanning back over. This is what's going on with my bubbles at the moment. Hello. Hi. Right, I better go in a minute because my cat wants me to go to bed. I think this is the kind of, can you see this bit here? This is the kind of effect that I was hoping for, where there's going to be some kind of disruption of the paint as it's drying that leaves an interesting pattern. The same thing is happening over here, which looks really interesting. Here, there's too much liquid and the paint's just kind of all, the starch is just re-amalgamated and it's just made this big lump of liquid. So that's not very interesting to me. But I'm more interested in how the acrylic is interacting here. So this is white acrylic blown out with the bubbles and the texture that that's picking up. I haven't seen any kind of effect like that before. I'm not sure if it looks pretty, but I think any kind of paint effect can look pretty in the right circumstances. Anyway, I'm not going to continue to experiment with this today because it's getting very late at night and I've been editing all day and I'm just really tired. This is certainly interesting enough for me to revisit in future, especially when I don't have a lot of money and still want to make a painting. Right, that's it for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching. Please remember to hit that like button if you've enjoyed what I've done today. Check out my 30 days 30 pours playlist. It's linked below. And so is a list of all the materials that I used today and all of the challenges for 30 days 30 pours. Tomorrow is day 14 and that means it's time for us to try a Dutch pour. It can be quite an intimidating technique to try and master, but I think it's a good idea to have a go. I'm not good at it. I've managed it successfully once or twice, but I'm not great at it. I'm going to try standard Dutch pour, I think. I'll try and give you a few hints now for how to help you get your Dutch pour right. So with an air swipe, you can just use air, any kind of air, to move the paint around. But with a Dutch pour, what you'll do is you'll put a very fluid layer of a base coat down. And it's really important for a successful Dutch pour that your base coat is thinner in consistency than your pour. They shouldn't be very, very different. They both need to move fluidly and they both need to be quite runny. So if you've got a white base coat, your white needs to be runnier than your colours so that the colours will be able to move it out of the way easily when you start to blow it around. For a Dutch pour, you'll put your colours onto a wet, slick base coat. And there needs to be quite a lot of this base coat. Then you'll use some kind of tool. For example, you could use something like this, which is a paint spreader or a palette knife, and you need to cover your paint with your base cover. Now, one of the main things to remember is that the more you try and cover it up, the more motions you make, the more you're painting in the center, your colored paint is likely to muddy. So it's better just to put the air on it and blow it out and see what happens than to keep trying to perfect the cover of base coat over your colored paint, because that will churn it up and make it muddy. Once you've covered your paint up, don't really wait long to blow it out. Get some air on it straight away. So you want to get set up before you start. Don't give your paints time to thicken. It's really, really important to make sure that everything is, all of your colours are the same consistency and that everything's really smooth and well blended before you begin. If you check out Dutch Pours on social media and on YouTube especially, you'll find lots of really helpful tutorials. I'm sure that you'll be able to make a success of this technique with a little practice. In terms of visual impact, Dutch Pours are really, really gorgeous, and I'm very excited to see what we come up with tomorrow. Good luck, everyone.